call it a safe zone. Reinforced gates, watchtowers, airstrikes on demand. We've got enough ammo to mow down half the city, and enough food to last the other half a year. But every night they come. Civilians, survivors, bleeding, screaming, begging us to open the gate. And every night, we just watch, because orders say we are not here to save them. I'm part of Echo Company. We operate the North Sector wall, 10-inch steel, reinforced with active flame trenches and perimeter turrets that can be activated remotely from the command bunker. There's enough firepower on our corner of the city to flatten a stadium, but we don't fire unless told. Not even a warning shot. The walls lined with searchlights, motion sensors, tripwire drones, and enough barbed wire to stitch the whole city shut. Every time someone gets within 100 feet, the tower buzzes. Most of the time it's nothing. Sometimes it's something. 2 nights ago, it was a man that came running for his life. He ran to the outer checkpoint, waving a ragged flag he must have torn from a bedsheet. Our scanners lit up. Movement detected, not just him. Shadows behind buildings. Rotten, decayed things dragging themselves along. Command told us to hold. Vyraclean said he was being followed. And he was. The man made it to within 20 feet of the gate before the first screamer came fully into view. Half a jaw, dragging its foot like it had been nailed to the ground. Then 4 more, then 20. The man didn't stop. I don't think he even saw them. He kept running, arms raised, crying out something. He was 6 feet from the gate when the horde hit him. We didn't open it. We didn't shoot. We just watched. I've shot infected in the streets. I've lit buildings on fire. I've dropped mortars into crowds of flesh eaters. But I've never heard screaming like that. Later, in the barracks, someone asked why we didn't help. No one answered. Vyraclean logged the incident, flagged it as civilian movement protocol, compromised approach vector. Their drones were already scanning the body before he stopped twitching. They didn't bother retrieving the remains. We run 3 shifts on the wall. My rotation starts at dusk and ends when the sun comes up, or the alarms go off, whichever comes first. It's quiet most nights. Uneasy, but quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't settle, just waits. The wall lights hum, the floodlights buzz. Somewhere deeper in the base, Vyraclean equipment hisses steam. I've started noticing things I didn't at first, like how the new guys don't talk much after their first shift, like how the old guys sleep with their boots on, like how the only people who smile anymore wear hazmat suits and carry clipboards. There's something else too. We're not allowed to turn off the external speakers, the ones facing the city. Someone higher up says it's for psychological deterrence. So every few hours, a recorded voice echoes out over the abandoned buildings. You are approaching a secure quarantine zone. Turn back. Do not attempt to breach the perimeter. Lethal force is authorized. But the dead don't listen. and the living don't care. I saw a group yesterday, 10, maybe 12 people, mostly adults, some kids. They'd rigged a cart full of supplies and were pushing it down the center of the street toward us. They must have known we were watching. They waved. They shouted for help. Command didn't say anything. Vyraclean didn't respond. The lights stayed red. Then one of them pointed behind their group and started screaming. They scattered. A wave of infected came from behind the buildings, faster than we'd seen in days. Not runners, but moving like they'd just eaten, like they had something left in their limbs. The group didn't make it 10 feet before they were overrun. We didn't open the gate. We didn't fire, because no one told us to. That night, I sat on the tower stairs, smoked half a pack, watched the wind carry ash off the fence. It's not the smell that gets you. You get used to that. It's the sound. It's the way the screams always stop at the exact same place, right at the gate. They didn't brief us on what it would feel like. They told us the gate would hold. They told us the walls were reinforced, the towers manned, the protocols clear. But they never told us what it'd be like to sit there, boots planted, rifle loaded, while people clawed at steel you weren't allowed to open. It started to wear on Harrison first. He used to be a smartass, the kind of guy who cracked jokes during drone sweeps, kept a tally of how many infected he'd spotted in each quadrant. Now, he just stares, doesn't talk, doesn't sleep, far as I can tell. He was on rotation with me when the next one happened. We picked up a signal around 0300, something big. Thermal scan flagged a mass movement about 4 blocks out, headed straight toward Gate 4. By the time we focused the optics, we saw them. People, survivors, dozens. They weren't staggering like the infected. They were walking with purpose, clutching duffel bags, backpacks, makeshift flags. I remember one guy had his arm in a sling, bleeding through his sleeve. Another was limping. A woman at the front held a mirror, shining light at us from under a torn blanket. They weren't infected, at least not yet. Harrison stepped toward the console. "I'm calling it in," he said. Command came through 30 seconds later. "Do not engage. Do not open the gate. Perimeter protocol active." Vyraclean's voice followed.
Anomalous biological markers detected in group. Entry denied.
We stood there, the two of us, watching them approach. They weren't stopping. One guy dropped to his knees, held his hands up, started sobbing. The woman with the mirror waved it frantically. Others screamed, shouted for mercy, and then movement behind them. Figures emerging from alleys, dozens, more than the first wave. You could tell the difference immediately, the way they moved, the rot in their skin, the twitch in their limbs. Zombies. The group turned to run, too late. The first man was pulled down by his legs, dragged screaming into the middle of the street. Another was tackled from behind and didn't even fight, just curled up and started praying. The woman with the mirror, they tore her throat out first. The rest ripped, torn, chewed apart like overcooked meat. Harrison snapped. He hit the console override, brought the turret online. I shouted, tried to stop him, but he was already firing. Rounds tore through the crowd, cutting down infected and survivors alike. Screams blurred with snarls, and then the alarm sounded.
Manual engagement without command clearance.
By the time the override was killed, the street was quiet. Bodies everywhere. Steam rising from blood-slick pavement. Command didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They just reassigned Harrison. Internal evaluation, they said. He was gone before the hour was up. That night, I found his bunk stripped. No personal effects, no photos. Just a pressure-wrapped clipboard on his mattress. On it, a form labeled Incident Response Analysis, Case Study 14B, initialed by Vyraclean. The next day, they replaced him. Guy named Brenner. Barely talked. Didn't ask about the last shift. Didn't care. And that's when I realized something. They weren't rotating us to keep us sharp. They were rotating us so we'd forget who we used to be. Later that week, I passed the courtyard where the Vyraclean teams debrief. One of them was standing there with a soldier from another company. They were talking like nothing happened, like it was a drill. The soldier was smiling. The Vyraclean tech handed him a pill bottle and said something I couldn't hear. Probably sleep aids, or maybe something stronger. Because out here, there's only two ways to live. Sleep through it, or stop caring. I haven't fired my weapon in 6 days, not because the infected stopped coming, but because I wasn't ordered to. They gather in the streets every night now, the living, the dead. Sometimes it's hard to tell them apart until it's too late. We call it the theater. That's what it feels like. The wall is the stage, and we're the audience. The others have stopped reacting. Brenner listens to music during watch. Marquez sharpens a knife he never uses. No one talks about the screams anymore. Vyraclean added new surveillance towers last week. Not defensive, observational. They said it was for event tagging and thermal spread analytics. They didn't ask for our input. They don't need it. We're not here to make decisions. We're just here to see what happens when no one intervenes. 3 nights ago, a man made it to the fence. Alone, unarmed, shirtless, blood-soaked, one arm hanging useless. He dragged himself right up to the gate and collapsed against it. He wasn't infected. We checked twice. He begged for water, said he'd give us his name, said he'd worked for Vyraclean once in logistics. I looked at the tower, waiting for orders. None came. He coughed blood, begged again, said he had information. Then the gate scanners flashed red. Biosignature flagged as unconfirmed exposure. The order came through. Gate remains sealed. Stand by for cleanup. Cleanup, like he was a spill. I watched the man die, not quickly. He screamed long enough for the infected to find him. They came in slow, 6 or 7, didn't even rush. They knew we wouldn't stop them. One by one, they closed in. The man tried to crawl under the fence, begged us, me, to shoot him. I didn't, not because I couldn't, but because I wasn't allowed. When they tore his throat out, he reached toward the tower, toward me, and then his hand went still. I requested leave the next day. Vyraclean denied it. Not even command responded. Instead, I got a form in my inbox. Subject: continued operational compliance review. A checklist: psych evaluation, nutritional log, sleep patterns, no mention of the man, no mention of the gate, just an optional survey at the bottom. How satisfied are you with your current posting? I clicked neutral, then stared at the screen for 10 minutes and changed it to satisfied because I didn't want to be reassigned. Because I know what happens to soldiers who break the script. They don't leave, they vanish, and Vyraclean doesn't waste bullets on quitters. Last night, I stood at the tower again, watched a group of infected chew their way through what was left of a warehouse raid. I didn't look away, didn't blink, didn't even flinch when the screaming started. The wall held, the light stayed green. No orders came, and I realized something I can't shake. We didn't build this wall to keep the monsters out. We built it so we'd have a better view. If you're still breathing, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you dare. There are plenty more nightmares waiting for you. And whatever you do, don't forget to ring the bell. It's the only way you'll hear the warnings in time.